7, 8. It's the Philly Peach Podcast. It's the Philly Peach Podcast. Hey, it's the Philly Peach Podcast. It's the Philly Peach Podcast. Yeah. Give yourself a round of applause. Thank you so much. I am your host, Jasmine, and for those who watch later or don't know, I am originally born and raised in Philly, but I've always loved Georgia, so I consider myself a Georgia Peach at heart, so that is where the title of the podcast comes from. And so today, I'm going to be introducing a brand new episode. This is the launch of season 2 of the PhillyPeachPodcast. So I'm really excited. This first series that I'm introducing is called Finding Power in Process to Promise. Okay, so many a times we don't hear about the person's story until they've been through the process, right? You see them on the other side of their thing, but you don't hear about what they're enduring through that process, how they're getting through that process. And so I had the privilege of meeting and talking with many different women, because so many women right now are in their process, right? You're waiting for something, you're looking forward to something, you're praying for something, you're believing God for something, and it's like, but God, I'm dealing with this, I'm struggling with that, I'm battling these things in my mind. What do I do to get through this? And so I know that this is something that will help so many other women, because I am enduring my process to the fulfillment of my promise. And so today the focus is going to be being freed by faith and restored by renewal. Freed by faith in that the development of my faith has increased my belief in how I was able to combat and fight the things that I've been dealing with in my mind, as well as being restored by the renewal of my mind has restored my soul with many of the things that were on replay, on repeat in your head. Oftentimes we all deal with different situations or issues where it's on repeat constantly, or you're constantly thinking about it, and you don't even realize that you're just putting yourself through the situation over and over again. And so I was dealing with that. A couple months ago, had a situation, and I just kept replaying it, thinking, if I did this, if I did that, I should have said, I should have done. And it was just like, oh, why? Okay, Lord, let me just let this go, and I'll get over it. And it was like, but it kept coming back, and I'm like, what is this about? So only recently, like a few weeks ago, probably like a month ago now, I was on a phone call, and I'm talking to two other ladies, and she was, one woman, Jennifer, we're talking, and she was explaining how your freedom is often tied to your forgiveness. And I was like, that's my problem. I'm still stuck on it because I haven't forgiven myself because of what the situation was and what I was dealing with. And so it was like, you haven't forgiven yourself. And it was like, immediately I was sitting there on the phone with her, and I was like, this is it. Like, I'm so focused on, when we hear unforgiveness is often taught about you having to forgive other people, you letting go of what somebody else did to you. But what have you not let go of that you've done that you can't let yourself get over, that you cannot let yourself put down? And I wasn't even looking at it like something that I had to forgive myself for. I just kept thinking, oh, well, if I had done this, then it would have turned out better for me. But I missed out because I didn't do these things. I missed out because I should have said what I thought when I thought it in that moment, instead of waiting, right? And now I'm living with this quote unquote regret and this feeling, not realizing that all I'm doing is beating up on myself, not realizing that all of this is tied to the fact that you haven't forgiven yourself. And when I tell y'all, it was like almost immediately it broke. Like, my mind was set free in a completely different way, like I had never experienced in my life before. And I was just like, God, was it that easy? Like, there's no way that this was that easy, because I should be worried about something. I should be crying about it. I should be upset. Like, and if you know me, you know I'm sensitive. So the slightest of things, I'm ready to break out in tears. So I'm just like, there's no way that this is that easy. I had the key in my pocket for me the whole time to unlock this prison that I had myself in. And so often it's like, you want to blame the enemy, and it's like, Lord, why am I fighting this battle? Why is he attacking me like this? He's like, no, he's got access because you've given him permission, because you haven't forgiven yourself. So it was just like, wow. And it continued though, because the situation broke, but then it continued in that I was able to apply it now to new situations. So I was dealing with an issue with my apartment that I was living in. And a whole situation come up. I didn't expect it. And I honestly was like, I was so embarrassed. I felt ashamed. Because I'm like, this ain't what I came here for. I'm not going back to Philly. That's what I'm not going to do. So what I'm not doing is leaving Georgia. But I don't know how I'm going to get out of this situation. I don't know how I'm going to work this out. And so I want to say November of 23, I was not able to pay my rent for my apartment. So now here I am like, Lord, what am I going to do? How do I trust you in this? Because Lord, this wasn't my plan. Like I don't know how this happened. But it was just that I'm like, Lord, I can't afford everything like I thought. Well, December comes and I'm on the phone with the leasing office not the leasing office, it was like one of the representatives or whatever for the company. And I'm talking to her and she's like, yeah, well, you need to leave by X amount of dates, da 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 da. And I'm like, I don't even know where I'm gonna go. I can't find a place in 30 days. Like that's just, it took me several months before I even found this place before I got out here. So now here I am, I'm talking to the lady on the phone and I begin to immediately like panic in my mind, thinking like, oh God, like I messed up, it's gonna make me have to go back. So I'm going through mail and I find this letter from a law firm. And it's saying how bankruptcy can help you with eviction. But the letter is dated from August. And I'm like, why would they have even sent me this? I had paid on time in August. I'm like, I know. I don't even know what y'all saw or why y'all sent me this. But I realized this must be for this time. So I go and I start doing my little investigation and research and figure this out. And then I go ahead, I move forward with this process. But throughout the time, like I'm constantly still fighting in my mind, like I'm about to be homeless. I'm about to be stuck out here. I'm not gonna have, this is gonna be this and that. I might have to live in my car. I might have to, like, it might be something else crazy that's happening in my life that I cannot control and I don't know how to deal with this. And I'm like, Lord, I've never been through something like this where now you're forcing me to have to rely on you. And it was like, I didn't wanna call anybody else. I didn't really wanna talk to my family because I know that their faith is not where it needs to be for me to deal with the situation. They're just going to perpetuate what I'm already scared of, what I'm already thinking in my mind about being stuck, or you need to come home, or well, I can't help you, or you need to call this person, you need to do that. And I'm like, I don't want none of that. I got enough going on in here myself, so I'm not asking for any of yours. So I was like, okay, let me go ahead and I'm just continue with this process. And I remember telling a friend, I was like, I don't think I should have did it. I regret it. I shouldn't have done it. And so I had the date was set out for January, and I get to the court, y'all, and I'm like, Lord, I don't have no lawyer. I don't have no documents. I don't have anything. What are they gonna do? They might tell me I gotta leave or whatever. I go, and it turns out that the bankruptcy stopped the eviction. So I get there, and I'm like, okay, well, what does this mean? Because now what do I do? And the lady was like, they can't touch you. There's nothing that they can do. They cannot mess with you, is what she told me. She said, he can't mess with you, is basically what that means. So you don't have to worry about, what you're gonna do next or moving out, because right now while you have that stay on your account, they can't move forward with anything. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I remember I called and I was just crying on the phone and I'm like, he made it work. And I couldn't believe it because I'm like, I never had to do something like that. And I'm like, this is scary. I don't really know how else to get out of it. And I'm like, I'm feeling like maybe this was a bad decision. Bankruptcy don't look good. It's going to get rid of all this stuff and all this is going to happen. And continue with that. Now, part of the agreement was that I had to continue to pay. And so then I get a call from one of the paralegals from the bankruptcy company. And she's like, hey, they see that you still aren't able to pay, so they're going to get your case thrown out. And I'm like, oh snap. So now here I am, I'm like, okay, got over one hurdle, here comes another one. I called the court again, and surprisingly I speak to this woman named Jasmine on the phone, and she's like, yeah, no, that's not how that works. I was like, okay. She was like, yeah, they can't just say that. She said, so long as you have an open case, they cannot proceed. So I heard her, but I ain't believe it. So I was like, okay, let me call the other lady that I was talking to that represented the company for the apartment. I call her, and she's like, yeah, no, you're gonna have to leave by X amount of days. Sum it up, y'all, I just moved out May 1st, and everything has been taken care of. I have a new place. I never lived on the street. I never lived in my car. I never, none of it that I was fighting in my mind thinking was going to happen to me happened to me. And in the midst of all of this, I'm like, God, what am I supposed to do? And I was like, Lord, I began to pray, Lord, please increase my faith to really believe, because I can say the word and I've said it, but when I said it, I wasn't always believing what I was saying. And so I'm like, help increase my faith so that when I speak your word, that I really have the faith to believe what it is that you will do, what the word says about who you are. Not so much focused on what I've messed up or what I've done wrong, but that I can truly lean on and trust my Father to take care of me. And he has come through time and time again. Till yesterday, okay? I don't know if y'all seen the story, but even up until yesterday, y'all. Because yesterday was a day, to say the least, okay? And I mean, from being at work to planning and preparing for this and with moving and all of it, y'all, everything taken care of. Everything covered. I haven't missed a meal. I haven't missed anything. And everything that I needed has been provided for. And I didn't have to, not that we don't need people or that it won't be people that God will use to respond, but that I've learned and still learning how to truly be dependent on him. And how my faith in him freed my mind in that process. Because it had me thinking, I was just saying, God, is it really supposed to be this simple? Is this what the peace that surpasses all understanding? Is that what you're talking about? Because I'm looking at all these things that's happening in my life, and I should be worried. I should be scared, but I'm not. And it was I think about when you kept me when I did have to sleep in the car. You kept me when I was in a crazy situation in a relationship, crying, doing all kinds of things. You still kept me to the testament of the fact that I'm still here now. And I'm getting through this, so I'm reminded of what you've done before. But on top of that, now I know who you are, even in that. So before, in those situations and things that I had dealt with at that time before, I didn't know who he was. Not in the way that I understand who he is now, through his word. And so in the midst of this, what helped me was the story about the Hebrew boys in Daniel chapter 3. And I kept thinking of things in the sense of well, maybe he's not going to do it. So you know how they say in that story in verses 12 through 18 is where it talks about how when they were before the king and they said, well, guess what? Even if he doesn't, we're still not bowing to you though. And what God helped me realize in that, because I was saying it well, I'm gonna ask him for it, but even if he don't do it, and he was like, no, that's not how I work. I'm not telling you to ask me, and I'm taunting you to ask me as if I won't do that for you. That's not how you ask me. That's not what I'm telling my children. No, that what they're saying is, despite this situation, I'm still not bowing down to this circumstance. And I was like, okay, so even in the face of me dealing with this issue, even in dealing with this situation, I'm not going to worry about it, because me worrying about it is now bowing down in this situation. So no, I'm not going to bow down to you in this situation or this circumstance. I'm going to trust that my Father will deliver me. So no matter what happens, no matter what you threaten me with, no matter how many times you say I had to get all my things and leave, no matter how many times you told me that it wasn't going to work out, I wasn't going to have enough, I wasn't going to be enough, I wasn't going to make it, whatever the case was, all of it was a lie, because no matter what the circumstance is, he's always delivered me out of it. So the fact that I'm even here to say that he set me free from this and even things from before, even if he doesn't deliver me this time, I still don't have to bow down to you. I still don't have to worry about this. And I was just like, dang, God, that's what you meant. I was using it incorrectly the whole time. And he showed me that in, what was it? Luke 18, with the woman who was pestering the judge. And he was like, all right, so she can leave me alone. Go ahead and give her what she asking for so she could get on out of here. And he was like, but I'm not the judge. I'm not telling you to get you to stop asking me. I'm not going to answer you because you're annoying me, and I'm not giving it to you in a begrudging way as if I don't want to give it to you. I understand this was just an example of what it was like in this situation for her with this judge. I'm letting you know this so that you understand I'm not the judge. You are my children. I'm your father. I provide for you. I answer you. I want you to come. I ask you. I actually give you the instruction, come boldly before my throne. And our boldness before him is our humility, right? It's not just an arrogant, like, God, give me this. But in my humility, understanding who you are, Father, I'm coming before you in your grace and mercy. I'm asking, and I'm asking as I'm coming with the boldness to believe you're going to answer me, right? So it's not like I'm coming boldly, like, give me. I'm coming boldly to say, I understand who you are as my Father, and I know you're going to answer me because that is what you say you will do for me. And so I was just like, man, this word really do what he said it will do, okay? Transform, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Like, it is the truth. And like I said, it's been such a challenge for me to really rest in the peace that I've been gifted. Because that's what it is, and I realize that sometimes we take for granted that the response that God gives us often is a gift. Right? It's not something that we're entitled to, but it is a gift. And it's something that we should be grateful for. And so I am just thankful to be able to have come to this understanding, to be able to now share this with other people, because so often we are believing or moving forward in things, but we're doing it in ignorance, right? And the word does let us know that my people perish for lack of knowledge, right? But it does not remove the consequence of you dealing with whatever it comes from your lack of knowledge. And so now having this knowledge and having this understanding, it just helps me to rely on him all the more. And now I'm like, okay, I can really say I have great expectation and have that expectation. Whereas once upon a time it was like, okay, yeah, have expectancy. All right, like I don't really know what that looks like, but okay. And at the same time, knowing in the back of my mind, like, I don't really believe this. How many times have you said something, but you know in the back of your mind, you don't really believe it? And I'm just like, I just replay over and over again, like, those moments of, man, I could have had this so long, all along. But it makes me grateful to God for the grace that he gives us in the journey and relationship with him. Because it's not always just about just gleaning or taking in or being blessed, but the growth that happens to you in your relationship with him. And so it's just like being able to look at myself and be proud of the woman I am now, and having no idea that this woman was even possible. It is mind-blowing to me. And it makes me all the more grateful to God, because 3 years ago, when I initially tried my first move out here, I did end up sleeping in that car outside, okay? And I only did it for one night though. I ain't even gonna try to make this like I was a hustler and I was out there doing it for a minute. I did it one night. I was like, this is not for me. I know that for sure. Okay, so this is not my portion, Lord. Okay, I don't know what else we gonna do, but this car is not it. I'm grateful, okay? Because I went to a Target parking lot over in Cumberland. I want to say it was Cumberland. And it was late, and it was just because that night I couldn't afford to get a room. I had been driving Lyft, but I was driving Lyft just enough to pay for one. And I slept in that car. It was like a red roof or whatever. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna try to be by a light, but not by a light. So that way nothing crazy happened. And at the same time thinking like, I got my keys and somebody could come up and just open the door because I can't lock the door from inside. Like all kind of stuff going through my mind. And he still covered me. Yeah. He still kept me. Yeah. And even in that, and I remember the next day I went to, y'all know Abernathy Park off of Johnson Ferry Road. Well, I went to that park after that and to change my clothes that next day. Now I had family out here, but I had left because I was uncomfortable being where I was at. And so I was like, I ain't going back there. I ain't come out here to live with nobody. I came here so I can be on my own. So we gonna do this. And then that lasted for, like I said, a couple of days. That sleeping in the car was that one night, and then I ended up transitioning and leaving. And even in that, I had felt so ashamed because it was like I had made a whole big deal about me leaving. I was like, family come, I'm having a cookout, I'm going to Georgia. Y'all know I always wanted to go to Georgia. I'm out of here and I ain't coming back. But here I am, not even really 6 months later, I'm coming back. And I was driving back in the same car that I drove out of there in, thinking I ain't never coming back here. And then I got home and I remember I was telling my mom on the phone, I said, don't tell nobody I'm coming. And it was almost Christmas. I said, they might see me Christmas, they might not, because I don't want nobody to know I'm even back here. And that February, that was December of 21, February of 22, I was like, okay, Lord, I've had enough of me. I've made enough of a mess. And I know that there's no other way out of what I'm in and where I'm at than with you. And so I got I applied, started applying for other jobs, and I was like, it's time for a career, something that I can build a career in instead of hopping from job to job. I'm on job number 12 now. But this is job number 12 from 2 years ago. Because I ain't never hesitated to quit. I don't know if y'all know, but they will fire you without hesitating. So I don't hesitate to quit. That's just been my thing. Because y'all gonna replace me with no problem. Y'all not gonna give me 2 weeks to try to find another job before y'all let me go. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I just be like, all right, y'all playing with my money. Y'all playing with my hours. You just messed something up. I'm not gonna give you a few times to mess it up. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna just go on ahead and do y'all that favor. And so, but this is now 2 years, makes 2 years that I've been with that company, working in this position, and I'm making my way up out of there too. But I'm gonna do it right this time. I ain't gonna just leave them. But I'm just grateful to God to be able to recognize the evolution that took place from February of 2022 to now being here in May of 2024. And in February of 2022, I could not have imagined being the woman I am today. I just knew that I needed him to be better than what I was. And recognizing that as a part of my process to the fulfillment of promises, right? As challenging as it has been, I describe my relationship with God as the most beautiful challenge I have ever experienced. Because just, it's like when he deals with, what I guess in commonality, like people would call like the big stuff or the big sin, right? Then it starts to get to be about your character. And that's what gets challenging. Because now he's pulling at things that you didn't even know was a problem. He's pulling at things in you that you didn't even recognize within yourself was a heart issue. And it's like you deal with that like that because you have this problem. And you don't even realize that. And so it's just like, okay, Lord. Because I wasn't really asking you to do that part. I was looking for the good things. And he's like, well, this is how the good things come. And I don't think we make enough room for that. Because more often it's talked about what you get from God, but a lot of people don't talk about the exchange that happens when you are really in relationship with him, where he's taking out the things that he doesn't want you to have, or the things that would be a hindrance to you and maybe you didn't see before, and the things that need to replace that so that he can really position you to do what he's purposed you to do. And so it's just seeing the transformation, right? Going back to that word, be transformed by the renewing. And it's like to now be in this position to understand how real that is, and it's not just words I heard so many times just repeated over and over again, because that's what a lot of things become for a lot of people in culture. It's just like it's a culture, what do they call it? Help me, y'all here in real life. Help me. What is it called? Like a cliche. There we go. Holy Spirit got my back. It's cool. A cliche to say, be ye transformed, but to experience the transformation and recognize that transformation in your life, it is incredible, right? And so, like, even up until yesterday, I was struggling, and I realized at the end of my day, I was like, okay, I was not doing my best to do things as if I was doing it unto you, because I let these people get to me And that's what we deal with a lot, is our humanity. In our growth in spirituality, our humanity is still a very real thing too. And I was having a day, y'all, and had a situation with my manager at work, and the whole thing about things coming up and my coworkers complaining and all this stuff. And I'm like, guess what? I don't even want to be here with y'all no more, for real. I just come, I do what I need to do so I can get on up out of here, and we gonna enjoy the rest of this day. And that's what I did. And I kept the attitude all day. And I was like, this is my, I'm not changing it right now. I have an attitude. Y'all know I got an attitude, and I'm gonna stay in this attitude. Just so y'all know, I'm not doing no passive aggressive nothing. Next client, somebody need a cashier's check, somebody need to, okay, I'll do that, no problem. Hey, how you doing today? Okay, have a good day. That's all I was doing, because I was like, I was frustrated and like fed up with so much of the things that are happening. And it's like we're constantly dealing with changes and doing, at the same time, trying to correct changes without correcting other things that need to be corrected at the same time. And so it was just like, it was all overwhelming. And at the end of the day, I was just like, Lord, I know this is not it. This is not the energy that I want to be bringing into my new day, this next day, tomorrow. Like, I wanted to be able to smoothly transition into, you know, what I needed to do and preparing for this. And I'm going here, I'm going there, and I'm at the store getting stuff, and it's just so much. But at the same time, this is still like looming on me, like it's a weight. And I'm like, okay, Lord, I recognize that the issue here is that I know that you're tugging on me with this, because this is not how I should have handled it. And I need to correct that. And that's what I mean when I talk about the way that he pulls at your character, where it's not like, because you would want your parent to be on your side, to be like, they did this to me. And God is always like, but what did you do? Right? How do you correct what you've done? You owe them an apology. And I'm like, apologize. Not that I have a problem apologizing. It's just like, but why? Because I feel justified in what I've said. I feel justified in what I've done. And I don't want to apologize, because then I don't want it to be like, I don't mean it. Because I meant it when I was saying what I was saying. And he's like, but your heart though. This is now a seed being planted. This is now room for your heart to have, like, for an issue within your heart. And so I want you to see that your pride is what's getting in the way, because you think that you know how this is supposed to go based on experience that you've had before being in other places. Now you have to adjust, one, with the area and the people that you're working with. But you also have to humble yourself in this place to know that even with what you know, you still have room to learn. You still have room to grow. And I didn't just put you in this place for you to just boast about what you know. This is so that you can learn to apply what I need for what I need you to do. But you can't come over here with that. And that's the challenging part when it comes to our relationship, is when he reveals things like that to me, to say like, I have this for you, but you can't do that with this. So this needs to be corrected before I even take you there. And I'm like, man. And I'm like, okay, Lord, I want it though. So what I gotta do so I can be right? Because ultimately, through my process, what he has profoundly emphasized for me is that I want to do what pleases him. I want what he wants for me. And God, at the end of it all, I will do the work. I will endure these challenges, because you have shown me that I can trust you even in correction. Because your correction for me is never to harm me. And I know that even in me constantly surrendering, continuously submitting myself to you, I do it knowing that even when I don't agree, even when it doesn't feel good, that it's always out of your love and care for me. That I can trust that, as uncomfortable as this is, the decision that he's telling me to make, or what he is leading me in, will never be to hurt me in any way. And that's what I can trust in. So as much as it is a challenge for me to have to go up in here on Monday and be like, listen, y'all, I apologize, because I know I wasn't doing my part. It's like, I'm willing to do it though, because now that gives room for something else to die, so that way something else that God has that needs to live can live too. And I'm grateful to be able to come to this realization while in process believing him for the fulfillment of something greater. And even to be like, to a certain degree, it's kind of scary to think that something greater is tied to what I let go now. And if I don't let this go now, I'm putting in jeopardy what comes later. And what's coming later for this promise is not just about me. This is not just going to free me. This does not just make a difference for my life, right? It's for my family, extended family. It's for women I don't know yet. It's for my children I have not birthed yet. I am determined to do what God calls me to do now because my children will be born free. They will not be born with any chains that I came in this world with. And I believe him to do that. That is the promise that I'm looking for. Yes, I'm looking forward to increase and great blessings and all the other phenomenal things. But the freedom that comes with Christ, there's nothing that compares to that. And so in the development of my faith and constantly seeking him and the restoration that is satisfied within me as I continue to renew my mind, there's nothing that compares to that. And I want to ensure that that is possible and that happens for my family and even for people that I don't know that have yet to encounter God in such a way, you know? And so I'll get ready to close out for today, but I want to give you some takeaways to consider. What have you bowed down to? What is it in your life that maybe you were in, the midst of dealing with or struggling to handle, and you bow down with your worry, you bow down with the frustration, you bow down with the anger? What have you bowed down to that now you need to release, that now you need to let go so you can make room for the new, for the next? And then what is your even if he doesn't really mean? Does it mean, well, even if you don't answer me? Or is it, even if you don't, I'm believing that you will. I know that you can. But even if it doesn't happen the way that I imagine, I still put it in your hands to trust that you will deliver me. What does your even if he doesn't mean when you say that? Now, as I always say when I close out an episode, pray, prepare, pursue, persist, and you will prosper. Pray about everything. Don't worry about anything. Prepare for what you've prayed for. Pursue it with all you have. Be persistent in your pursuit, and you will prosper. Love y'all. And thank you so much for today's episode of the Philly Peach Podcast.